Yeah, we are live.
Ladies and gentlemen, and we are back with our next panel discussion of the day with the theme of blockchain for public welfare, role of government and nodal agencies. Let me first invite our moderator of the session, Mr. Rajesh Dudu. He is the co-chair of IMAI Blockchain Committee and vice president and practice leader from blockchain and cybersecurity from Tech Mahindra. And now let me introduce you to our panelist for the session, Mr. Jayesh Rajan, IAS Principal Secretary, Information Technology, Electronics and Communications Department, Government of Telangana. And we also have Mr. Santosh K. Misra. He's the IAS Commissioner E-Governance and CEO from Tamil Nadu E-Governance Agency. I would request all the delegates to keep posting their questions in the chat box and we will address selected questions at the end of the session. Over to you, Mr. Dudu.
Yeah, thanks, Shivani. Thanks for the opportunity. I'm really excited and really delighted to be on this particular session because this session has two very seasoned bureaucrats whom I have been following. They're technologically savvy and also have done a good amount of work when it comes to blockchain. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you both, JSG and Santosh T, on this particular panel. Before I turn it over to you for your views, I just wanted to set a little bit of a context. We all know that blockchain kind of came into existence or became popular because of the introduction of Bitcoin. But if we trace the history of blockchain, it goes back to 1980s when computer scientists were working on this particular technology with an intent of making government redundant. And in fact, some concept papers have been written called crypto anarchy. Crypto anarchy is a world where a government is not only redundant but also becomes irrelevant. That was the genesis of this particular technology. But it is very heartening to see the governments in different parts of the world, as well as in India, going after this particular technology and making this technology mainstream. So the first thing will be interesting to hear from you both based on your practical experience. Why blockchain in government? Why do you think there is a potential for blockchain in government, whether it is for governance or whether it is for public administration perspective? Maybe JSG, we start with you and then we'll go to Santoshji.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rajesh. My greetings to fellow panelists and friends Santosh, and also greetings to all the attendees. Two quick points. So one, Rajesh, you obviously correctly pointed out that the whole genesis of blockchain has been, in popular understanding with cryptocurrencies. And while our country's stand on crypto is not yet very clear, there is some element of ambivalence. But we have all benefited from the technology behind crypto, the distributed ledger technologies, DLTs, and today in many progressive states in the country, including Tamil Nadu, Telangana, and many others, we have found very innovative uses of blockchain technology. So typically, as has been the case for the cryptocurrencies, blockchain is most suited in multiple ways, wherein there is a large number of users or stake or participants. They are all spread over. There is an element of opaqueness. There is no transparency. There is no accountability. There is a trust deficit. These scenarios make it very ideal to implement blockchain solutions. And many states have done great things. In Telangana itself, we have some amazing use cases. A few of them where the efficacy of the system is now beyond a proof of concept. We have scaled up some solutions. Some of the solutions which were started in Telangana are now getting recognized in other states, in other geographies. Tamil Nadu, Santosh will speak about it, that the government has decided to create their own blockchain platform, which obviously indicates or implies that the value of blockchain that they see in governmental applications is enormous. So this is what I have to mention, that there are tremendous opportunities of blockchain, particularly in these kind of scenarios where there is trust deficit. Government spends lots of time in just monitoring, keeping an eye, keeping track, and there also the systems are imperfect. There are lots of instances where public have suffered because of these frailties and deficiencies in the system. So very good examples. Maybe later on, as we proceed with our conversation, I'll be able to give you some concrete examples as well. I'll tell you the range and versatility of blockchain programs.
So JSG, thanks for those insights. So basically, you're saying that while the transformation has happened with the regular IT, now is the opportunity to drive it to the next level of transformation, and that's where blockchain has a potential, because some of the challenges that are there that couldn't be solved, or those have been left unsolved with the existing IT infrastructures. Okay. Over to you, Santoshi, in terms of your perspectives on why there is a role for blockchain in public welfare.
Thank you, Rajesh. And good afternoon, everyone. I think Jayesh sir was absolutely right in saying that there is a whole array of use cases in government where this technology becomes very appropriate and also very useful. And Telangana, of course, they have taken they have worked on several applications, and of course, he will share some of those. What basically drives government interest in blockchain, and I can speak from my perspective, of course, is basically, there is a huge thrust on ease of doing business. There's a huge thrust of ease of living. And if you look at it from businesses' perspective, or if you look at it from citizens' perspective, they have a big interface with the government. So whether it is your birth certificate or your community certificate or your mark sheet of the school, or it is college mark sheets, and similarly the businesses, there are licenses, approvals, compliances. There's a whole array of things which businesses and citizens have facing the government. And many a time what happens, not many, I think most of the times, it's one document of the government being consumed, produced by one government department. And with the level of digitization already in place, most of the government departments actually use a digital platform to deliver a service or process a document. That document, which is completely digitally processed, is at the end is taken in a physical format and then submitted as a consuming to the consuming department in a physical format. So this obviously, I mean, as I said, there's a huge thrust from Government of India, from state governments on ease of doing business, on ease of living, and all this physical movement of documents, physical movement of licenses, certificates, approvals, compliances, they add a disproportionately high burden on the person who has to do this. So I think that is broadly why we got really interested in this, and we are in the process of course, we ran a lot of proof of concepts, etc. So now we are in the process of building a huge interstate for the entire state, a common blockchain infrastructure, which will be used by all departments, all businesses, private sector, because this is a network system. The more number of players you have on this, the more number of people using it, the more value gets created. And the way we have designed it is that we want the whole blockchain ecosystem to develop and thrive. And I'm sure this will actually improve the transparency and delivery of services to the citizens and to the businesses. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent points over there, Santoshi. You bring in a very pertinent point from a perspective of using blockchain for the complete end-to-end digital transformation. So as per you, in the existing scenario, the digitalization has not been completely implemented, at least from a last mile perspective, when you were referring to conversion of the electronic document into a physical document. And that physical document is being presented either as a proof of evidence or proof of existence. And that's where blockchain has got an important role to play in terms of enabling digitalization from end-to-end perspective. Completely aligned with your thoughts on that. Going to you, JSG, you did allude to several use cases for government of Telangana. Some of the things that resonate with me, especially in the public welfare space, in the realm of the common man, are chit funds, title registrations, and now your government is also looking at vehicle life cycle management on blockchain. Can you please share your experience in terms of what are the perceptible benefits that have been endowed, or what are the perceptible benefits that got translated to both a government from a governance perspective and also to end user?
Yes, Rajesh. So these are the very successful use cases of Telangana, the three of them that you mentioned. Of course, land titling, I know for sure that many other states are also using blockchain, because in many states, including Telangana, the land documents are in a are in a state where it is very easy to manipulate, forge, create fake documents, and obviously put some genuine buyers into a very precarious position. More so in Telangana. See, what happened was, many of us would know, Telangana used to be ruled by the Nizams in the past.
Right.
Therefore, all the land documents are in Persian. Now, today, our ability to read Persian is very limited. None of us know Persian for that matter. And therefore, it is very easy to create and forge a document. In fact, we jokingly mention about it. It may or may not be true, but at least there is a joke that someone once sold the Charminar also to a gullible buyer. So,
Right.
I mean, the level of fraudulence can go to that extreme as well. So,
Right.
land titles are a very useful way of securing them using blockchain. And we have done it in Telangana. Multiple other states have done. But title is not alone. You must also have a automation system through which the role of middlemen at every stage of registering a document or selling a property or any kind of land related transaction, that is completely eliminated. So Telangana has been able to transition to that level where everything has been automated, everything is transparent. There's a blockchain based system which secures the title, so no hera fairy, as they say in Hyderabad, that is possible anymore. But there have been good use cases also. So the first example you spoke of, the cheat funds,
Yeah.
that also has been a very successful initiative. In Telangana, this project is called T-Chits, and I'm sure all of us know this. The cheat fund is another area where there are lots of trust deficit. People do not know who are the other members and how much is the total collection, how much has to be given to each member. And I'm sure some of us know this. I don't want to run down or speak about any other state, but there is one particular state where the chit fund scam is so enormous that even the government could potentially fall because of those problems. So we have found that T-Chits is a great way of administering the chit fund system, and tons and tons of paper records which used to be there earlier, which no one could even if they had the intention, would have physically gone through and maintained some kind of a valid system of monitoring, etc. All that has been replaced by a very efficient blockchain system. And I'm again very proud to share with you that a startup has created this solution. And after they have successfully rolled it out in Telangana, from a POC stage, it has now transformed into a statewide solution. He has been given opportunity in 6, 7 other states also, so to try it out, which is of course something very useful.
Right.
You spoke about our RTC our transport department solution.
Right.
We know that lots of evasion happens when people when owners change hands for a car. I buy a car, but I sell it to someone. I sell it to he sells it to someone else. So the transport department loses out quite a lot, because lots of these sales involve paying fresh taxes and so on and so forth, which people typically evade. So that solution has also worked well. But I would like to speak about one solution which is very, very topical, very current. As we know, vaccines are being administered in this country, in the whole world for that matter. And this is something which is of tremendous value now. In fact, when we feel so optimistic about coming out of this pandemic, vaccines are going to play a very critical role in that. And unfortunately, again, because of the kind of society we live in, there are chances, and we have seen this happening so many times in the past, about duplicating these medicines, duplicating vaccines, create fake vaccines, introducing that in the system. So it is just water that you are kind of injecting yourselves. Obviously, that is very dangerous. A person in good faith may take a vaccine and think that he has been protected against COVID, but apparently he has just taken a water injection. So how do you ensure that fake medicines do not spoil the purity of this COVID management, or for that matter, any other medicine program or vaccination program? And similarly, that there is a very important necessity of maintaining cold chain as a part of this supply process. So we have found a very important use case of blockchain in these areas as well, which we have introduced in the state, and we have also recommended it to the National Health Ministry, who are also seriously considering these solutions. So these are some of the good use cases where not only has the governance been made easier, but there is a huge element of public welfare, public benefit also.
Fantastic. So in the state of Telangana, definitely blockchain is becoming real, and that too from a common man perspective and the benefits of common man. Very, very, very happy to listen to that. Moving to you, Santoshji, another interface where blockchain has a tremendous role to play from a public welfare, governance, transparency perspective is elections. And both you gentlemen have spoken about the role of blockchain in elections. Not only spoken about that, but I've also done some good amount of groundwork in making it a reality, and also ensuring that it will get integrated, whether it is at the municipal level elections perspective or elections higher than that. What has been your experience, and how different people in the ecosystem have received it from an election commission perspective to the other government departments perspective, and more important, the acceptance from the political fraternity? Can you give us some insights, please?
Yeah, Rajesh, Election Commission was seriously looking at exploring the option of using blockchain for what they called remote voters. So basically, there is a sizable population of migrants who move because of livelihood issues from one state to another. Many of them are long-term migrations. Many of them are actually seasonal. Nonetheless, I think one of the things I was reading yesterday, one of the interviews of Chief Election Commissioner, and he said that one of the objectives of the Election Commission is to ensure that everybody is included in the voting process, in the whole electoral process. So which is really a laudable objective. And I think they have been over the years, they have been trying to make the entire electoral process very inclusionary. And I think in that context, they reached out to us and said that, can we explore looking at creating a blockchain based solution where people from different area can actually vote in a different area, particularly across the states. And I think we worked with IIT Madras, and they came up with possible architecture which can work in bringing this. So the only country at this point of time which successfully conducts elections on blockchain is Estonia.
Correct.
Other than that, I think other countries have been looking at it, and I think experimenting with it, but I think no other country or a government which has been able to implement it completely. So this is where the current, I don't know what election commission will decide, but of course there is a possibility of providing blockchain support and making electoral processes inclusionary. That's certainly something which is there on the horizons. Acceptability, I don't know. Any new technology is always comes with a lot of skepticism. And I think slowly when people start doing it, using it, and they see that the results are as they should be in terms of impartiality, in terms of, I mean, it's the usual technological challenges. So whether it
Right.
is AI or blockchain, I mean, you run into the same difficult issues of ensuring explainability and acceptability, etc. So I think over the course of time that will also settle down. But again, I mean, that's a call which election commission has to take. So I don't really know what's there on their minds.
But it's really heartening to know that they are open to incorporating this technology for the benefit of the common man. So, JST, when do you foresee blockchain being integrated in elections in Telangana? There has been some talk of utilizing it in the municipal elections, and I know your team has been working extra hard to make it a reality. When do you intend that becoming mainstream?
Rajesh, definitely the road is difficult because this is a country where even the issue of EVMs, electronic voting machines, have not yet been settled. There are,
Right.
after every election, we typically find some party or the other complaining that they did not lose because of the lack of confidence of people. They lost because EVMs were tampered and so on and so forth. So even something which is so otherwise proven is open to doubts and questions, etc., etc. So obviously, bringing any other technology also will have its own kind of skeptics, and we have to answer all of that. But at the same time, we should, at no point in time, give up on our own preparedness. So we had an opportunity when very recently the Hyderabad Municipal Corporation elections took place, and as we know, the elections took place in the backdrop of pandemic, which
Right.
makes it rather precarious for elderly people to go out and stand in a queue and prevent all the risks, etc. So the election commissioner in Hyderabad was very positive. He felt opportunity to try out a technology. We did some background work. We constituted an expert group who guided us about what specific technologies to use, etc. But then at the end, of course, it is lack of proper attention at our part itself. We realized that we have to make some amendments to the Municipal Act to permit remote voting.
Oh, is
While
it so?
you are ready
Okay.
with the technology, while the election commissioner is prepared to give a green signal to it, we found that it requires some act amendment. And at that point in time, there was hardly any time to make those amendments because the way elections have to be conducted is prescribed in the act. So we lost that opportunity. But there are other smaller elections happening later on, and we are confident of getting the required approvals, permissions, amendments, etc. before that. But at the same time, so Santoshji spoke about Estonia. I will clarify this, that while Estonia does use blockchain, remote voting, and obviously blockchain plays a role at the back end. Uh, it has not done away with paper voting or ballot voting or in-person voting also. People have both the options. They can come to a booth also and cast their vote, and they can sit at home and vote. And I was with, coincidentally, I'm happy that we are having this conversation now. Just 3 days ago, the Estonian ambassador was in Hyderabad, and I was
Okay.
chatting with her, and she told me that only 40% people are kind of opting for remote voting.
Okay.
So, of course, 40% is also a large number, but it is not yet universal. There also people have some issues, and many of them prefer to go and vote in person. But definitely, in principle, the value of this technology and the whole concept of remote voting obviously has to be popularized. We have to gain confidence of people, including political parties, common voters, press, etc., etc. We have to keep at it. I remember when the Election Commission and Tamil Nadu government had organized a conference on remote voting. I
Correct.
had made a point that let us first show that it works in smaller elections, which do not have such high stakes. For
Correct.
example, club elections, housing society elections, or some other kind of elections where the stakes are low. And if we are able to demonstrate that everything was foolproof, we can gradually escalate this to bigger and bigger elections.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as and when it happens, it'll definitely be the most defining moment in the history of Indian elections. And wishing you all the best on that particular front, JST. Sir, you had alluded about creating a blockchain framework in the state government of Tamil Nadu or in the state of Tamil Nadu. How does this align with the mighty recommendations on creating a national level blockchain framework? And does the use cases that your office has identified for implementation in state of Tamil Nadu, do those resonate with what have been identified by MeitY? How do these two initiatives roll up into each other? Can you give us some insights?
Yeah, of course, with MeitY, of course, our interaction is very, very close. We exchange ideas and thoughts, and what frequent discussions are on. So we kind of remain in sync with each other, I guess. And MeitY's blockchain strategy, which has recently come out, so I think that was a draft one, and I think they are going to revise that and bring a fresh one soon after updating it. So there is absolutely no conflict with them. It is more or less in line with what they are saying, and the advantage of building a common infrastructure is that you don't really have to, once you build an application for a particular use case, then adding a additional use case is difficult. But when you are building a common infrastructure, then it doesn't matter. You can keep accommodating as many use cases as you like. So whether it is environment or forest or industries or individual citizens facing services or documents, diplomas, whatever you have. So everything looks okay. So that's the whole idea. And as we speak, the tender is out there, and in fact, I'll use your platform to invite willing partners to join us. We have already done substantial amount of work, so we need somebody to sit with us and give shape and bring it to life. The architecture, the blueprint, the solution, the technology, and all that, we have kind of thrashed it out to some extent. And I think we are, of course, always open to suggestions and change. So this is a general purpose common infrastructure. Something, I mean, the only other infrastructure I know of this nature was EBSI, which is European Blockchain Service Infrastructure. So in terms of use case restrictions, I think we are fine. I mean, we can accommodate any use cases of any department in this. And that was the whole idea.
That's very interesting to know. That's a very audacious and a lofty goal, and I'm sure with your leadership you will be able to accomplish it soon. How do you envisage this happening in terms of whether there will be a centralized IT department within the state government of Tamil Nadu that will take responsibility of setting it up, somewhat similar to National Informatics Center at the central level? How do you envisage this to be implemented?
So, I mean, it's a DLT infrastructure, so not really there will be a centralized in that sense, but of course it won't be a Bitcoin infrastructure where anybody can download. So it will be a permission network, of course, and somebody has to lead it. So we will be leading it centrally. In that sense, if you use the word centrally, yes, I mean we will be leading it. But then, of course, as I said, I mean, it's open to anyone. I mean, you have to follow a certain standard, certain sanity checks have to be maintained, and that's about it. I think after that, it's open to everyone. No? It's open to citizens to give their consent, and it's open for app developers to develop the apps which add value to the whole ecosystem.
Okay. Okay, very good, excellent. JST, going back to you in terms of you and your team has taken a leadership position in terms of drafting the blockchain district policy, which has come out almost about 18 months ago, and a lot has been accomplished over the last 18 months. How has been your experience? How has been the experience from industry with respect to blockchain district, both within India and also outside India? And what will be your guidance to rest of the governments, either in India or outside India, who are looking at emulating such a policy, either at their state level or at the central level?
Yes, Rajesh. So, of course, while you are not saying so, I should let everyone know that you are also one of the architects of the blockchain district policy on behalf of Tech Mahindra, and we value your
Thank
participation in this initiative. But for the benefit of others, so Telangana government has believed from day one itself that whatever are our technology goals, these have to be accomplished in a partnership mode. Government by no means is a repository of all wisdom, all knowledge. The government can facilitate all the knowledge creators and other stakeholders to come on a common platform. And this is exactly what we have done. We have created this amazing platform, which is called Blockchain District. And the Blockchain District has a range of participants. And the founder participants are like this. Of course, the state government of Telangana is also there, but we have roped in a government of India agency as well, CDAC. Hyderabad has a strong CDAC center, the Center for Development of Advanced Computing, who have a strong mandate on blockchain. Then we have taken as industry partner Tech Mahindra, because they have been one of the first large Indian company which has started a blockchain practice. Then obviously academic institutions are very important, and we have found that Triple IT in Hyderabad has been teaching blockchain as a part of its course, etc., etc. Many of their faculty have done research work, etc. So they have become a founding partner, and with these five organizations, we have started the blockchain district. The purpose is fivefold: encourage more and more product development to happen in Hyderabad, more and more R&D to happen in Hyderabad. We all know that lots of innovative work gets done these days by startups to encourage them. And I'm happy to share with you that under the blockchain district, we have started a startup accelerator program. And just a few months ago, we were able to select the first cohort in that accelerator program, who all of us, all of them are doing exceedingly well. So that is officials. But the most important responsibility which the district and the government in particular has is to create skills and talent. See, as both of us mentioned, myself and Santosh, that there are the applications, the use cases of blockchain are only limited by our imagination. We can think of literally thousands of possible use cases, not just in the government system, also in enterprises, and and at so many other places as well. But do we have the talent? Do we have skilled people to run all those use cases? And we did realize 3 years ago that right now very few colleges in Telangana were teaching blockchain courses, etc., except the premier institutions like Triple IT, etc. So what we have done, again using the blockchain district's leadership, we have motivated many new colleges to start emerging technology courses, and blockchain is one of the important courses. So for the last year and a half, I'm also the officiating vice chancellor of the Technology University of the state, which is called JNTU. And we have motivated almost 40 colleges, 40 good colleges in JNTU to start new courses on emerging technologies, including blockchain. So blockchain courses are happening through these colleges, through the state government institution called TASC, the Telangana Academy of Skills and Knowledge. And all in all, I do find that blockchain district's roles and responsibilities have been very ably executed. And as you mentioned, Rajesh, this can be a good model for other states also to emulate.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm reminded of an old adage which says that it takes an entire village to raise a kid. So it seems like from a blockchain perspective, it takes entire community to develop the required developments and progress with respect to blockchain. I think it's a perfect segue for us to check if there are any questions from the audience. So Shivani, can you let us know if there are any questions from the audience for the two gentlemen here, and we will take those questions.
So we haven't got any questions as of now.
Okay. So I would encourage attendees to post the question subsequently also. If they want to post the question subsequently also, it is perfectly fine, and we'll find a method of getting the answers from these two gentlemen. So we are almost on the top of the hour. Before we go, I just wanted to ask you both in terms of a lot has been accomplished in the field of blockchain uh, with respect to public welfare and governance. A lot more needs to be accomplished. So two other areas, what do you think those two areas that will be there for adoption in future from your individual experience and an individual understanding perspective? Maybe we start with Santosh ji and then go over to JSG.
I think digital identities are around the corner. So I think that will be the first thing which I see coming up in the blockchain domain. And possibly, I think green energy and, is another interesting use case for blockchain. So these two, I mean, apart from all the others I've mentioned on certificates and documents and licenses, these two are, in my opinion, something which is around the corner. And I think if they come, they will add a lot more to our responsible living and also ease of living for citizens.
Fantastic. So digital identities and usage of blockchain from a green energy perspective. Very good. How about you, JSG?
I'm very enthused with one new use case that we have identified. See, in Telangana, for the last so many decades, a very strong social mobilization program has run, which mobilizes women into self-help groups. And that program has run very well. So we now want to ensure that there is a mechanism wherein the credit record of each and every person who is a member of the group, typically banks or other apex bodies, monitor the group performance as a whole, not individual. So we now are very keen that every individual comes on record using blockchain, and thereby that individual's ability to secure higher credit, improve their income, and thereby come out of the poverty cycle much quickly. That I believe will be a good game changer. So I'm very upbeat about that. Also, as we know, the national government has announced the digital health mission, the national digital health mission. There are so many opportunities of blockchain application in that also, so that that really becomes a great benefit to common people whose healthcare needs so far are not adequately addressed. So these are two areas where I feel very upbeat about blockchain applications.
Fantastic. So there are two questions that have come up on the chat screen. One is in terms of central or state government upcoming initiatives implemented on blockchain. We did cover those aspects extensively, so I'll skip that particular question. The second one is interesting though. Aadhaar card usage will be instrumental in use cases like voting. Will that be legally made available for voting use case? Even if a finger is scanned over mobile at backend, Aadhaar data integration will be needed. Else, what kind of identity can be used? Okay, I'll try to decipher this. I think they're referring to if you use blockchain from a remote voting perspective, how do you establish the identity of the voter? Whether you will be leveraging Aadhaar or something else is the question.
In Telangana, that solution that worked on did not use Aadhaar. The solution used the existing voter identification, which the election authorities have, and an OTP-based system. So the idea was that you pre-register yourself, and the mobile instrument will shooting. And once you are pre-registered, your photograph and your you have to send a facial you have to send a photograph which is matched with the photo identity which is already available, and then your phone also gets an OTP at the time of voting, so to ensure that it is you. So these are two different parts. One is registration of voter and identification, where there is no blockchain. This is more facial recognition and a authentication process using OTP. How do you secure the vote properly? Once I cast a vote in favor of, let us say, candidate X, 100 other voters also do that. How do you secure that process of voting involves blockchain-based solutions.
Absolutely. Thanks for the explanation, JSG. So the last question that we have is, how will a startup which is in blockchain enterprise collaborate with colleges in India and outside? While I'm tempted to say, join the Blockchain District Initiative, you will automatically get access to all the resources. But I would still, request opinions from both JSG and Santoshji.
Already mentioned that we value the work which startups do. They have done most of the solutions. I gave a few examples, but there are at least a dozen more examples. And I can confidently say that except some very big ticket solutions like land titling, etc., or even this remote voting, because it's a very sensitive solution, all the others we have sourced from startups only. So if you have a solution which is of relevance to the government, we'll be very happy to explore it. But let me also clarify that the orientation in our government, in Telangana that is to encourage homegrown startups. So if you are not from Telangana, if you are kind of, let us say you are Bangalore based or Chennai based startup, my advice would be that if you are to get an opportunity in Telangana, you should move your office to Hyderabad, and then we'll be happy to help you.
How about you, Santosh?
So we do work with startups. In fact, we find startups to be very, very effective, particularly if you carefully select them. They are very good and very nimble, very hungry, and offer superior solutions. So startups are always welcome. As Jayesh sir was saying, basically large projects, they have to either, in this particular case, the infrastructure which we are building, I think they can partner with a larger company and then come as a consortium. I think that's allowed, and because it's too big a project for us to really take a chance with. So, but our experience with startups has been phenomenal. So we really would like to encourage people to come and bid. And if there are, of course, if they want some advice or counseling, that also we will be happy to do. In fact, we are setting up an exclusive IT garage for startups. So hopefully, once the elections are over in our state, and then we'll be able to move ahead, because that geo has already come. We have to now wait till elections are over.
Okay, fantastic. So wishing you all the best on that front too. Thank you so much, sirs, for your valuable insights and experience. It not only demonstrated your thought leadership, but also the practical experience by virtue of all the interesting things that you both do. And we are extremely fortunate at IAMI to be associated with you both. We continue to leverage your contributions in this particular space. And thank you once again for joining us and sharing the insights with the audience.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Tudu. And a special thanks to Mr. Ranjan and Mr. Misra for sparing their valuable time to join us for this interesting panel discussion. I would request all the participants to please stay tuned for other exciting discussions. We are signing off. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Stay safe.